All right, so that was Otoado there. Of course, the biggest takeaway from his thoughts was the penalty, and it has everybody talking about that. The penalty decision. The penalty decision. Wow. Susu, penalty, no penalty.
No penalty. And what surprised me, and I'll say it, is that all the people in the VR box agreed that was a penalty. Because if they disagreed, they would have called him to the monitor. They clearly thought that this was enough of a penalty. There was not enough doubt to call him. And that's what is most surprising for me, because I know everyone is saying, why didn't he go and look? He didn't go and look because the people should have told him to look, thought it was a penalty. And it's strange that a referee make a decision, and basically everyone who's neutral, let's forget the Portuguese and the Ronaldo fans and Ghanaians, let's leave them out. Basically neutrals, if you look at all the kind of people watching the game around the world, different journalists, all that kind of stuff, all of them feel like this was not a penalty. So that's what's most surprising about the decision, that everyone in the VR box, VR room, whatever you want to call it, VR fortress, agreed that it was a penalty. And that's what stuck out to me. And speaking, and even on decisions, on the offsides, again, it's very likely that the AI did the whole calibration, didn't deem it offside. But I believe FIFA missed something by not showing us those images, because when you don't show us the images, it creates doubt in people's minds that you're hiding something, that is like there was an offside and you didn't want to show us. So I have to really wonder about that decision from FIFA, and maybe we'll get an explanation that they don't show correct decisions, because the games I've watched, when it's a close offside, I've not seen them show the correct decision. I've seen them show when it's an offside. I've not seen them show when it's an offside. So I don't know what's going on there. But it would be nice if they could show us some of these things to make people feel better. Because I think in not showing it, it's giving people the license to go on MS Paint and draw lines and say it's offside. But there's a reason they have these technologies there. So it would be nice if FIFA showed us. But on the VAR thing, I was very disappointed that all the referees agreed it was a penalty, because it's just not a penalty that you can see is clear cut. It was not clear cut at all.
All right, let's hear what experienced referee Mike Dean has got to say. He's ref at the highest level, former Premier League referee, 10 years experience. He had this to say about the penalty decision that was awarded to Cristiano Ronaldo in that game against Ghana. So that was a former Premier League referee Mike Dean, and he says he cannot believe that the referee was not called to go and have a second look and then make his decision.
Look, for me, it was not even the decision itself. It was the distance between the referee and the action spot, and how quickly he seemed to make up his mind that it was a penalty. Because from experience, referees will get tentative in such instances. He'll think about it, because in the balance of that game, and if you look at the trajectory of the game, that was it. That was a watershed moment. That was a seminal moment. It changes everything. So if you're going to make that call, you have to be certain that this is it. It's a penalty. And that even if it goes to review, I'm certain that I made the right call. And before you do that, you must be well placed. And when I say well placed, your vision, your angle, where you're standing, your eyesight angle has to be near perfect. It should allow you to see the body parts of the player that made contact. So I'm talking here about the defending player that made contact with the attacking player. So that in that split second, you're able to judge and say, this is it, it was a penalty. Right? So where you're standing determines what you see. And sometimes who or what is in front of you, and the distance between those players and their angle to the action spot itself. So if there are players in front of you who are blocking your sight, you could be very close, but you may not be able to see it. But the referee could not have seen if you get to see the replay, if you see the footage again, the ref could not have seen where Salisu's leg made contact with Ronaldo's. Right? So for him to have quickly made up his mind is what makes me suspicious. Is what I'm not comfortable with. And the fact that even when the players were urging him on to go and have a look, he still insisted. Of course, I understand that he would like to back himself. But to be sure, to be certain that you're not unfairly handing the advantage to one team in what has been a very even contest, I thought he owed it to himself to have gone to the video assistant referee and say, can I see the footage of... Because look, the protocol for the VAR has not changed. Players can request for it. The referee can...
Actually not. It's only if he disagrees with the referees, and that's what I mentioned. So it's kind of, they have a discussion like, I saw ABC, and the VAR says, well, it wasn't ABC, I saw DEF. That it will come to have to look at the monitor. Once they are all in agreement, there's no look at the monitor.
But I'm saying that when the players impressed upon him, he could have requested to say, I want to see this again.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He was so, like you said, he was so sure that there was no, there was no way that he was going to say that, look, maybe I'm not sure.
Permits him to have decided that I want to rethink, I want to have a second view at this one, which is the whole point of VAR. That where there is, it basically offers you a
based
second
on what you
opportunity.
said about the angles and stuff, he shouldn't have called a penalty.
No, he shouldn't have.
He should have left it, because if it was, like you're saying, the angle and that kind of stuff. I don't pay too much attention to it, so I can't speak on that. But if you feel he wasn't in a position where he could have seen the penalty, there was no reason to call it in the first place.
Before you make the call, you must have seen the contact, and that contact must register a violation of a certain code, a certain regulation. That
I don't know.
Once you see
maybe he felt that maybe the way Salisu kind of went into Ronaldo was a bit excessive. But when you look at it, it's more like Ronaldo kind of trips himself. Not that Salisu trips him, he trips himself on Salisu's foot.
The way Ronaldo's body moves, the way Ronaldo's body moves after the contact, and how his body was a blatant dive, because the contact should not have been enough to move or to manipulate Ronaldo's body movements in a manner
kind of the way he felt.
Oh, come on.
You see, that's the thing. There was contact. I felt so soft to me, and I thought that he also got the ball first.
I will even say there was
thing
no contact, because if you look at the various angles, especially the one from behind the play, you could tell Salisu touches the ball clearly, and I'm quite surprised that if a referee says a player has been fouled, he should check the trajectory of the ball after the set tackle. The ball, it doesn't deviate.
Maybe he thought that Ronaldo was the one who touched the ball. I don't know what it was.
There's one thing we need to tell our players. The reality is that the referees could be required to go out there and protect the key assets in this
that penalty was
I disagree, because I disagree, because we see Neymar getting...
If that has been Kudus...
let me ask you.
We see Neymar getting tackled all the time and being brutalized, and there's no protection. So I don't believe there's
no penalty incidents.
They're not. So let me ask you. If roles were reversed and it was Iñaki Williams going down like that.
Oh no, I don't. I agree with you.
I mean, that is not a penalty on any day. But the point is, I don't think if it were Iñaki Williams going down,
you're right,
the ref would even consider giving it, because it is not a penalty.
This is one of the problems in sports. Superstar calls. It's part of every sport.
I'd like to say to conclude. I think that our players also need to develop a certain psychology, and sometimes be a bit more defensive in their mindset. That if that incident happens, the ref will forget the rules and is going to whistle against me. And I thought, could Salisu had shepherded Ronaldo out of the danger area
without getting as close to him?
That was possible.
Not getting as...
Number two.
Could he not be risking a goal creating
So sometimes that's the judgment call you have to make. Number two, I think we need not to dwell on the referee, because he could have given a legitimate penalty in the first half against Seydou Alidu on that Joao Felix incident.
Yeah.
Also? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get to the line. Benjamin Nketiah is in Doha, Qatar, and he joins us live on World Cup Daily. Ben, if you can hear me, I'm sure it's afternoon there, so good afternoon to you in Qatar. How are you doing, and how is Doha after yesterday's round of games?
Good afternoon, Nathan, and good afternoon to Achu and Susu in the studio. Good afternoon to all our viewers as well. Doha is it's great so far. It's a quiet city for most parts, buzzing with World Cup fever. You can see fans from basically every country that's participating everywhere. There are those who are also not participating